everyone, Brandon here from the Kabuki Strength Lab, the other half of Brandon and Brandon. Today we're going to be talking about advanced recovery techniques, the specific focus being cold immersion therapies or ice baths. Now, before we actually get into the effectiveness of ice baths, I want to talk about the connotation surrounding advanced recovery modalities. Now, just because something is called advanced doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than the things that you're currently doing. The things you're currently doing to recover better and improve the effectiveness of your training plan should be sleeping better and likely more for most people, eating better, and likely trying to or striving towards a lower stress lifestyle. Those are going to be your big players for recovery. Now, when something is labeled advanced, people assume that it's going to be better than basic, and basic doesn't necessarily mean that it is less effective. So I want to get that straight first and foremost. Advanced usually means that it just has a narrower window of effective application, and that's true for many things related to recovering from training. Ice baths are one of the things that people reach out to us about questions about, and we want to talk about that today. So let's run through a couple scenarios here, and we'll talk about why they might be effective and why they are likely not effective. So say we have a training session here. That training session in and of itself is not going to make you stronger, and it's not going to make you build more muscle immediately. It's the process that follows that training session. That process is going to be our recovery window. And in that recovery window is the time when your body is adapting and responding to the stimulus provided within that training session. Now, during this training window, we're usually going to experience joint or muscle soreness, certainly muscle soreness if the training was hard. We're going to experience higher levels of inflammation as a result of our training. And we're also going to be in a state where we are at the highest level of protein synthesis possible because of the demands associated with tissue repair from that training session. Now, this is a time when people are often going to use ice baths or cold therapies is to improve this window, or to what a lot of people refer to as speeding up my recovery. Now, if you want to speed up this window, you absolutely can, but it doesn't mean that you gained the most amount out of that recovery or adaptive window that you could have. In that time, protein synthesis is very high. That's your body remodeling damaged tissue from that training session. Ice therapies are going to make you feel better as a result of hard training. They're going to make you feel less sore, and they are probably going to reduce pain. So that's a big plus for ice baths, is lower pain, lower soreness. However, during that period of an ice bath reducing soreness and inflammation, it's also going to blunt your protein synthesis. And that's a big problem if you're regularly using ice baths. Ice baths are great if you're not in a situation where you need tissue repair for muscle building. Now, if you are someone who is a team sport athlete, or you have regular competitions where greater muscle isn't necessarily a direct benefit to your sport, that's a situation where ice therapies or cold immersion strategies can be very effective. But if you're consistently using ice baths during your adaptive window to that training session, you are actually going to receive a poorer adaptation to the same training that you did here. So the times where ice baths can be effective is at the very end of a deload or right before a competition. Now, in both of those situations, your body's recovery demands, or you're no longer adapting to this training stimulus. You would have already adapted by then. You should be well recovered, and you should be fresh for the next training block or the competition that is coming. And those are two excellent times to use ice baths if you should choose. However, you should absolutely not be using ice baths or cold immersion therapies during the course of normal training if you are interested in building muscle. Now, if you are not a strength athlete and muscle is not a direct requirement for better performance, it's probably an okay strategy to use more frequently. So if you have competitions multiple times a week, maybe that's a good time to interject a cold therapy strategy. I hope that sheds some light into the advanced technique that is ice baths, when they might be effective and why they may not be effective. If you have other questions about advanced recovery techniques, be sure to drop it in the comments or send us an email. Brandon out.